when you do the drilling, it's a mess, right? So there's a big, huge mess here. There's stuff on the floor, which I'm not going to bother showing you. So just make sure you do this somewhere. Vacuum will pick all this up very easily because they're pretty dry at this point. Just make sure you do this somewhere where you can have like a million little tiny pieces of clay on newspaper that you can just throw out, or you could even just take it outside if it's not a bad day and just do it outside. That's what I do for a lot of these kind of things. When I'm going to make a big mess, it's a lot easier. And then just know you'll need to vacuum sweep up really well so that you don't end up tracking dust all over the house and making your parents mad at me. My little tea light holder, it's looking pretty sweet, huh? Except for the fact that it wouldn't show any light. There was a candle in it, so I got to make some holes. So I've got an O here, and what I've done is I made dots along the O where I'm going to, which I could have poked holes earlier, and then I've got this kind of cool sunburst pattern, which I've made dots into. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it up on here, and I would say you always want to go as high up as possible because the parts underneath don't show as much. And then I'm just going to take my needle or whatever sharp object you are using. And I'm old, so I have to take my glasses off to do this. Don't know if you saw me do that. I'm just going to poke holes going all the way around. And I usually do this from the middle outward, kind of, and you know, it's not going to be absolutely perfect because the paper sort of crunches as it goes around, but it works really well. Paper kind of wrinkles because it just doesn't want to sit perfectly on the thing. But there's my O, nice little script O, ready to have holes drilled. And then I will do the same thing with this, but I'm not going to make you watch that entire process. Just starting from the middle, going outward. So now, now that I have all that done, I'm going to show you. So like I said, you could do this with, you know, poking a sharp pencil through. It's got to be a little softer than this is now if you're going to do that, because, and you want the inside to be dry when you do this so that when all the little pieces fall on the inside, it will, you can flake them out. Otherwise, they'll just turn into a big lump of crap at the bottom. So now I've got my drill bits and I have to choose what size I want the holes to be. And you want the holes to be pretty good size so that they'll let light through. So that might mean changing your design a little bit as you go and realizing that that you can't maybe make as many holes as you wanted to. I'm going to make a couple holes just so you can see how this works. And I think all of you probably, a lot of you probably have power drill at home, and maybe if you haven't used it before, a dad or mom who will help you do this. And you don't have to do this. This is just a really great way to create a lot of holes because it's so fast. Okay, so like I said, I'm just going to make my smallest holes first. Just poke it right into the dot and drill, and it goes right through. And that's why I like doing this, because you can just make literally hundreds of holes. And I'm seeing already that I do want to make fewer holes than I initially expected to. But, you know, they can be pretty close together because you do want light to come through. Okay. And then these little chunks and stuff that are, you know, sitting here, you can just flake them off now. Let it dry up a little bit. Again, the project won't completely get bone dry while this gets dry, and you can just rub them off later once they've dried up some. Okay, so now I'm gonna make about 100 holes. Okay, I've let this dry for a little while, and now I can just rub. I'm just rubbing on the inside where the little pieces are and just knocking them off on the outside. And I think I'll just take a little needle and just poke it into the holes wherever I see anything clogging up. Just knock off all the little pieces that are clogging the holes here and there. Okay. The other thing you might notice is there may be little ridges where the drill drilled, and if those bother you, you could, I'm just scraping them off with my thumb nail. Pretty much does the trick. You could use one of your tools too. If you really want to clean out the inside of each hole, you could on some of these bigger holes just take your paintbrush and just kind of swirl it into the hole. I don't think that's going to be necessary. You could also just take your little something, sharp like this and just kind of scrape off all that little stuff if you wanted to. If those little ridges bothered you, I wouldn't say you have to get rid of those or you'll be disappointed. And then the other thing I would probably do at the very end is just take a sponge and don't make it too wet, and then just give it a quick wiping, and that'll probably take off those edges too. So as always, you can sort of experiment. I also have some little punch marks I made where I didn't end up drilling a hole in the sponge hole. Clean those up too. Okay, I'm just going to go over and the whole thing with the sponge the last time, just to get rid of any little pieces that have stuck to it or anything like that. That would be disappointing. I see a little piece that just stuck in there. Some of those little pieces you can knock out after it's fired too, but it's just easier now. Okay, and then don't forget, last thing you always do is your last name, or if you have a long last name, at least 4 or 5 letters of it, so that it's recognizable as you. Kind of depends on your long last name what that means, but I think you'll be able to figure that out. So last name, again, on the bottom, just make sure there are no little pieces stuck, because if they're stuck now and they get fired on there, they'll be excuse me, stuck forever, and then they'll be kind of scratchy on your coffee table. All right, so there it is, my tea light. Nick on the top, I just noticed. Must have made while I was drilling. Clean out any little bits and pieces on the inside that didn't fall out with my sponge. Since I can get in there with my sponge. There's my finished tea light. I kind of wish I had made the holes get smaller or something as they got further out and used more different sizes. I'd say that's the only thing that I would have done a little differently. Okay? Thanks. Bye.